There's always people arriving in the city or leaving the city. Everybody is more in a rush. It's very difficult to find occasions and places to meet people. As architects, we have to create those places and we have to make those encounters happen.
It is about connection. You create an architecture or a building or space that allows people to interact with each other. It's about how the building or the design should allow for different dialogue to happen. Whether it's emotional, psychological, physical, that's when you know you have created something that's meaningful.
One way to initiate dialogue is to encourage people to interact. They can collaborate freely, it's more spontaneous, and there's that chance of serendipity. We've linked in the Home Office with an elevated street, like a village high street, within the actual government building. Little breakout spaces, meeting rooms, shops and kiosks. It creates these opportunities for a dialogue. Beijing South is quite known for the volume of people that use it. It's a place where people come to go to the other commuter cities. We've inserted this sort of pedestrian landscape spine through the station to reconnect the two previously disconnected communities back together. So it's both a distributor and an attractor. Kennedy Town was always sort of disconnected from the island. It remained its own little unique remote pocket. Having the station, it basically reinserts the district back into the island. The original proposed location was actually along Forbes Street, right where the tree walls. The public and the community really valued the tree walls. So MTR had to adopt a new strategy, and that meant that the Smithfield swimming pool became part of the puzzle. The station itself, I think, is more of a kind of community feel to it. But the swimming pool, because it was shape of the boundary in a triangle, it could become more of an iconic shape. So when you're coming from Connaught Road down that off-ramp, it's right there on your left. It really does act as a gateway to Kennedy Town.
Sometimes it makes a bigger impact to initiate dialogues beyond human scale. When we first visited the Chai Wu Wai village back in early 2000, there were over 400 local village houses in the area. Their living conditions were really poor. Houses were tightly packed together, offering little fresh air and sunlight. The most successful part of KK100 is how we created these exchanges at city and cultural levels. We have different public areas throughout the towers, vertically stacked. The basement, the lively groundscape, the podium, office communal spaces, and more importantly, we opened up the rooftop so that the local villagers and the general public can enjoy the views of Shenzhen. VETNet and One Excellence were dialogues of progress and traditions. With One Excellence, we want to help the Chennai area break out of traditions. Most financial districts around the world become a ghost town after 6. But life isn't just about work. Our emphasis for One Excellence is to make the space between the buildings come alive, off office hours, during the weekdays and weekends. VETNet Tower is located right at the center of the new CBD district. With VETNet, we want to help the Cambodian signal progress. It really stands out with their existing horizontal streetscapes. Our hope is that VETNet will help the Cambodian tell the world that Phnom Penh is ready to participate in the new economy.
The most meaningful dialogues are the ones evolving over time. I think this is an absolutely essential lesson for us architects to learn and to embrace in our work. One of the key projects for the expansion of Hong Kong was the West Kowloon district. MTR wanted to do much more than just build a new railway station there. They wanted to create a new city for 50,000 people to live and work. And the idea was quite simple. The station was underground and all the development would sit on top of the station. In those days, Hong Kong was very open towards covering the site to a large extent. So the public space was actually elevated, 25 meters up in the air. After Kowloon was built, the perception had somewhat changed. People became very conscious towards reclamation and started to reject that. Because the challenge with reclaiming layer after layer of the harbour front means you never have a permanent condition. And people got tired of that. They started to understand that the waterfront has great value. And Kowloon Point never happened. Which meant that Kowloon development stood out there by itself. The government came up with this idea to create a new focal point for Hong Kong. And a whole streetscape only occupied by people. A lot of cultural facilities, it has office, even hotels, all functions you can possibly imagine in a new district. The new district will be a new quality to Hong Kong, there is no doubt about that. It was a phenomenally interesting experience to see this district grow over the last 25 years and to see it change and to understand how the aspirations of the people changed over this period and how it required new solutions. And I think we're quite proud that the framework we set up was actually flexible enough to allow for those changes to happen.
Life is not only enclosed in the buildings, but most of the times it's outdoors. You start thinking about beyond the buildings, how people will commute by vehicle, or would it be enough shading for the pedestrians and so on. It's very interesting when you design a building, you set up all the constraints, you have imagined what the life would be for the user, and then they start using or changing the space.
The most rewarding part about architecture is seeing the spaces that we create around the building used in a different way. In the end, the architect is designing for a community, designing for a group of people. The community will be the one to respond to the spaces that we create.
Well, it's Churchill's great quote, wasn't it? We make our buildings, then our buildings make us. The world population is rising and rising at a phenomenal rate, and most of those will be urbanites. Placemaking through cities and being proud of your city and making recognizable architecture, I think, is happening all over the world. I believe inevitably change in city form and in architectural direction is essentially organic. I've often said cities are the greatest work of art, and they're anonymous in a way. They are made collectively, which is extraordinary, really.